Real Flight Simulator. Real Flight Simulator.
Hi, my name's Jack Dees, and I want to share with you some exciting information about a true passion of mine, flying any one of my many airplanes anywhere in the world I choose, any time of the day or night, under any weather conditions, and without ever leaving the comfort of my home. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Flight Pro Sim. In my opinion, the most realistic flight simulator game available today. In fact, I'm so impressed with this flight sim, I've spent a great deal of time creating a series of videos to review and share the fun and excitement of the many features offered by Flight Pro Sim. And by the way, for what it's worth, I have a degree in physics and math, and over the years I've built multiple businesses in such varied areas as the oil and gas industry, GPS vehicle tracking, insurance, marketing, and online. And I only mention that because I know you realize anyone can make a video these days, and I want you to know there's at least some chance I know what I'm talking about. So follow along with me on this 20 video adventure and see if you don't agree that with over 100 planes to fly, over 20,000 airports, maybe even the one in your hometown to experience, with accurate worldwide scenery based on actual military mapping, Flight Pro Sim is truly one awesome and fun piece of work. It is indeed impressive, and it contains all the features by which any good flight sim game should be measured.
The Instrument Panel Part 3. And again, this is this continuation of videos 12 and 13. Third part is a little bit technical. And this is the picture of the control panel, instrument panel that you'll need to access. Keep that in mind. Keep a copy of this with you as you go through videos 12, 13, and this one 14. And a free PDF of the instrument panel you just saw is provided for you at topflightsim.com. If you'll go there, download it, and be sure to get a copy and hold it in your hands and consult it as you view videos 12, 13, and this one number 14. Real Flight Simulator. Real Flight Simulator. The VOR, or Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Range receiver, is used for course guidance during flight. And a picture to the left, or to the right, sorry, points out the VOR. The frequency of the sender is displayed in the NAV field, and in a sense the VOR acts similarly to a lighthouse, permitting to display the position of an aircraft on a radial around the sender. It transmits one omnidirectional ray of radio waves plus a second ray, the phase of which differs from the first one depending on its direction, which may be envisaged as a kind of a rotating signal. And the phase difference between the two signals allows evaluating the angle of the aircraft on a 360-degree circle around the VOR sender, the so-called radial. Now this radial is then displayed on the gauges NAV1 and NAV2 respectively, left of frequency field. This way it should be clear that the VOR display, while indicating the position of the aircraft relative to the VOR sender, does not say anything about the orientation of the plane itself. And this is the receiver that we're talking about. This is instrument cluster is located, if you go back to your picture of the instrument panel, immediately to the left of the radio stack. And the radio stack is that group of clustered instruments on the very right hand edge of the instrument panel. And the top is the VOR receiver with glide scope. And the typical configuration generally is one VOR with glide scope and one without. And the VOR receiver is there's a next instrument down without the glide scope, and the bottom is a automatic direction finder. And again, this is a picture of the radio stack, very top panel. This shows you all the different components of the radio stack. And again, this is on the far right hand side of the instrument panel on the picture that you've got. And the top instrument is the audio control panel. The Navcom radios that we talked about, number 1 and number 2, are outlined. The ADF, or Automatic Direction Finder, is underneath the Navcom radios. The autopilot positioned under the ADF, and in this particular case has a GPS also below the autopilot. And the throttle control, the mix control, and the flap control are all in the very bottom portion of the panel, and that's the radio stack. And below the two ComNav devices is an NDB receiver called ADF, Automatic Direction Finder. We just saw that. And again, there's a field displaying the frequency of the facility. The ADF can be used for navigation too, but contrary
The VOR does not show the position of the plane in a radial relative to the sender, but the direct heading from the aircraft to the sender, and this displayed on the gauge below the two nav gauges. And above the COM1 display, you'll see three LEDs in the colored blue, amber, and white, indicating the outer, middle, and inner resparker beacon. These show the distance to the runway threshold during landing. They do not require the input of a frequency. And below the radios, you'll find the autopilot. It has 5 keys for WL or wing leveler, HDG or heading, nav, APR, which is a glide scope, stands for the glide scope, and the ALT or altitude. These keys, when engaged, hold the corresponding property. You can change the numbers for the radios using the mouse. For this purpose, click left right to the circular knob below the corresponding number. The corresponding switch left to this knob can be used for toggling between the active standby frequency. And it should be noted that you can neglect these radio instruments as long as you're strictly flying according to VFR or visual flight rules. And for those wanting to do IFR or instrument flight rules flights, it should be mentioned that this simulator includes a huge database of nav aids worldwide. This is not a toy, folks. Finally, you find the throttle mixture and flap controls in the lower right of the panel. The recall flaps can be set via AND or in brackets, or just using the mouse, and this refers to some technicalities of the game itself, the game interface. As with the keyboard, the panel can be reconfigured using configuration files. Since these have to be plane specific, they can be found under the directory of the corresponding plane. Now, I realize videos 12, 13, and 14 of this series may have sounded just a little bit complex, at least to somebody not familiar with reality-based flight simulators or piloting an airplane. However, it's important that you understand the power and sophistication of Flight Pro Sim. It's simply not a toy. This is a real sophisticated flight simulator. If that's what you're looking for, I know you'll enjoy this game and the real-life flying experience it provides you. And to find out more about the world's most realistic flight simulator, be sure to view the other 19 videos when this video ends. You'll find them all at the following website, as well as a special offer for an instant download of Flight Pro Sim. That's www.topflightsim.com, topflightsim.com. Real Flight Simulator. So right now, be sure to check out all the other videos and a very special offer at www.topflightsim.com. And while you're there, be sure to download any of our informative flight simulator ebooks. They're all free.